They told you play it safe, stay where you are, keep your head down, don't reach too far, build someone else's dream instead, trade your vision.
Cut off the beginning. So hi everybody, welcome to the second session of First Things First, where we're going to be talking about using AI to start a practice and also other technology tools to help you get your firm up and running as quickly as possible. I am so excited to have Kelly Brubaker here. She is like so unique because she supports firms of all sizes. She does work for larger law firms and for firms that have already scaled, but she hasn't forgotten the solos and the people who are just starting out. And I think that's really where I find it so difficult to get really good advice because everybody wants to represent the $10 million business without realizing that it once started as a $10 business or even a negative $10 business. So welcome, Kelly. If you could just share some information about your business and your background before we get started, that's easier than me trying to give an intro.
No, absolutely. Thank you, Carolyn, so for having me. I it was definitely all in when you asked because I love what you're doing. So my background, my name is Kelly Brubaker. I'm a CPA. I'm licensed in Ohio, but unlike law licenses where you have to be licensed by state, I'm licensed in Ohio, but I can practice across the US. So I do have clients from coast to coast. And my accounting firm is called Profit Scale Thrive. Profit Scale Thrive seems like a weird name, but I don't know about you guys, but I struggled with naming my firm, and it comes down to the mission of the firm is to guide attorneys to overflowing profits, scaled growth that results in thriving lives. So that's where Profit Scale Thrive comes from. And I've had my firm for 20 years and I work with law firms almost the entire time. So I think it's been about 17 years since I've had law firms that I've worked with. And like Carolyn said, all sizes. I have even now, my smallest client's about just over 100,000 a year. And then my largest client is in multi-millions. So, and I meet my clients kind of where they are. Some I just do bookkeeping for, others I don't do bookkeeping, but we do high level, more CFO work, which is future looking stuff. So that's where I'm coming from today.
Yeah, and so that's of course something you should keep in mind is you should always have in mind the big picture of the day when you're going to need that CFO, but we are going to start here from the beginning. And so the first question I wanted to ask you is most people who are starting law firms today, the most important thing is cash. How do you get money in the door as quickly as possible? And as a precursor to that question, what kind of bookkeeping and financial infrastructure do you have to have set up to get that money through the door? So
Yeah,
what are
absolutely.
those first
So,
steps?
okay. So first off, if you don't have any clients, start making phone calls. Call everybody you know, get clients in the door. Before you can, and so before as you start doing the work, you need to make sure that you have your IOLTA or IOLA, depending on what state you're in. You have that account set up and that you have an operating account set up. Once you have your two bank accounts set up, be very diligent about if it's earned. It all comes down to whether the money is earned. If when a client sends you money, if it is earned, it goes into your operating account. If it's not yet earned, then it goes into your IOLTA account. And
And
at
just
that
to
point,
interrupt for people
mhm.
who are very, very new to this, just the acronym, it's the
Oh,
interest on lawyer trust accounts. It's basically the
yes.
IALTA is the synonymous for the trust account. So sorry to
Yes,
interrupt
trust
you.
exactly. No trust account. And I apologize. I actually before I started my firm, I worked in banking. So it was just common IOLTA accounts. We just knew what that was. But your trust account, you're absolutely right. Your trust account, just making sure that that's set up. So any unearned money that you're collecting from a client goes into, or on behalf of the client, is going to go into your trust account. So once we have our bank account set up, a couple things that you're going to want to get set up. You are going to need something like QuickBooks. And as much as I am not thrilled with Intuit or QuickBooks as a platform, I honestly can't recommend very many other platforms that give you the functionality that you need to manage your information. There's other programs out there that are not QuickBooks that can do bookkeeping, but they lack functionality. And really, from my standpoint, they lack a lot of reports. And you'll get to where you're like, I really don't, I'm a lawyer. I deal with words, I don't deal with numbers, and I get that. but there will be times where maybe your tax person will ask you a question and you're like, I don't even know what to do with that. Like I can't even get the information. So I get a little frustrated that some of the other possible bookkeeping programs don't give as many reports that will help you answer questions that other people are going to ask you. And it's not even just your tax person, it could be a banker. If you need a line of credit, which is something I recommend from day one, and it's very hard to get it day one because you have no business history. But the worst time to try to get a line of credit is when you absolutely need it. So as soon as you can get a line of credit, make sure that you get that going. But yeah, once you have your bank accounts, you have your bookkeeping system figured out. The next piece is to make the decision whether you're going to accept checks only or online payments. And I personally love online payments because yes, I get it. You've got to pay the 3 to 4% transaction fees on your credit card transactions, but people pay you faster. Hands down, in my 20 years of owning a firm and all the clients over the years, thousands of clients I've worked with, if you can accept online payments, you will be paid faster. And that's critical because the longer it takes for someone to pay you, they're less likely to pay you. So make it as easy as possible. And price your whether you're doing flat rate or hourly billing, increase your fee enough to cover the 3% transaction fees. If you are going to take credit cards, I will highly recommend using LawPay. And the reason being that of all the credit card solutions out there right now, LawPay is designed specifically for the legal industry. And they know well, it's not that they know, but they have the ability to, when money comes in, the client, you're telling LawPay this money is coming in as a deposit and it'll put it into your trust account. Or you tell LawPay this is earned money and it puts into your operating account. The only other one I know, Clio, if you're on Clio Payments will do that as well. But LawPay is the one that I know that works independent of whatever your case management system is. So yeah. But yeah, getting like how people are going to pay you is a big deal. Get that set up.
Okay. So I want to make sure we get a good transfer because AI is going to summarize this too. And so I want to give
Mhm.
it some parameters. So I just want to go back. Step one, the very first thing is to set up your bank account and your trust account. And when you set those up, I assume it should be in the name of your law firm, not in your own name.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's a yeah. So definitely make sure that I will just tell you, get a tax ID number from the IRS. Even if you're a sole proprietor, you can go to the IRS and say, I want an EIN, an employer identification number, or also a taxpayer identification number. So TIN or EIN are the same thing. It's the business it's the comparable number to your social security number. So it's still the same number of digits, but it's formatted as a business account number. But use that to protect your social security number. So even if you're a sole proprietor, so a sole proprietor, the IRS will say you can use your social. Well, that's great until it's not, because you will get 1099s from clients. And I don't know about you, but I don't want my social security number floating around anywhere it does not need to be. And so get your tax ID number from the IRS. When you go to the bank, you will give them your tax ID number. And so your operating account will be set up in your firm's name with your tax ID number for the business. Your trust account, the IOLTA account, every state bar tells you how to set this up. And what I see from my standpoint is it will have your firm's name on the bank statements, but it's not your firm's tax ID number. It's going to be your state bar's tax ID number, because the deal with these trust accounts is that the money sitting in there earns interest. But when the bank pays it at the end of the month, you'll see the money hit your account as interest. And then the next day or the same day, it goes out because it's going to the state bar, because it's going to fund their initiatives that they have going on for the general public. So the IOLTA account will have your name on it, but different tax ID number. And that's okay because it's the state that's going to collect the interest on that account.
Okay, so that's step one, is setting up the bank accounts. Also, I just wanted to add for the tax ID, when you Google tax ID, there's a lot of paid services that come up, but it's free to get it when you get it from the IRS. And I'll put this
Absolutely.
information into the show notes. So, okay, so step one, bank account set up. Step two, then you are going to go to QuickBooks or your,
Mhm. Your
okay,
chosen bookkeeping app.
right,
I
chosen.
I would recommend I recommend QuickBooks. And I know everybody gets frustrated because there's the desktop programs going away and they're making it astronomically priced to force people to go online. But there's advantages with the online stuff. Yes, I know you have a monthly payment now that you may not want to pay, but there's advantages to it. You have a lot of practitioners, a lot of accountants that and bookkeepers that can access your online account with your permission. So it makes it easier to find the help when you need the help. And I have some clients who I only talk to them once or twice a year. They'll call me and say, "Oh my gosh, I'm like I do my own bookkeeping, but I'm stuck." And I'm like, "Okay, let's just jump on a call and we'll do a Zoom, do a screen share, and we can get through." But I they can give me access as an accountant to their account, and there's things that I can go in and fix for them and then send them on their path. Like they're back on path and they're ready to go.
Right. So I was hoping to do a demo of showing like how the setup is, but it was
Mhm.
too complicated to, and I don't want to share my own books. But if
Right.
you could just, from your memory, just
Yeah.
walk people through sort of the basic steps for setting up the QuickBooks account. And again, everybody will get a transcript of this and the AI will put it into a nice set of instructions. So hopefully you can follow along with that. But if you could explain, and are most people setting it up themselves or using professionals to set it up?
Um, I would say it's probably 50-50. I have people that will call me and say, "Oh my gosh, I'm stuck." And then I have others who are like, "I don't know what I was doing. I just hit buttons until it turned on." And it's fine either way. Um, to get started, I mean, QuickBooks does try to make it as easy to get started. So when you first sit down, you're going to want to know what credit card or debit card you're going to use to make the payment. They will give you a free trial. And if you're trying to get logged into a QuickBooks account and you can't get a free trial, because they change literally Intuit changes their mind every day. So most days you can get, I want to say it's a 30-day trial. If you can't get a free trial, just shoot me an email. And I do, as an accountant user of QuickBooks, I have where I can get you a 30-day free trial. So I can send you a link that will, and I get nothing from it. It's just to get you 30 days so that you can kind of get acclimated to what's going on. But you go on and you say, "QuickBooks, I want to start." The hardest question that people ask me are what level, because you know how things now are, there's tiers.
Yes, the menu.
And QuickBooks is horrible because I think they have five. And I'm like, what happened to like everybody seems to recommend three. They have five, and it might even be six now that I'm thinking about it. But you want the lowest tier that you can start with is essentially, and you can always go up. They will give you a hard time about going down. It's not that you can't ever go down, like you can't downgrade, but they will make it. You'll get the 50 pop-ups like, "Are you sure?" And you're like, "Yes." "Are you really sure?" "No, I'm really, really, really sure." So so I just recommend starting on the lowest tier that they show you. And then you can always, if something's not working right because you need another feature, you can always upgrade very quickly with one click. So once you pick your tier of which, what program level that you want access to QuickBooks, the next part's going to be the easy stuff. Your law firm's name, your mailing address. Now, I will tell you, and I don't know if you're going to talk about this, but I know I will tell anybody who's opening a business, don't use your home address because I work from home and I have worked from home. I've had offices all these years, over these 20 years, but I've always had a home office. And in the years that I don't have an office that I'm renting, I have a PO box because when I started my business, I was single and there was no way. I felt very exposed just putting my home address out there. So I've just always had a PO box that I can use. But whatever address you want, and then so it's going to ask you firm name, address, phone number. I think it asks you for your website. And that's because if you're going to invoice out of QuickBooks, and I know a lot of lawyers use a case management or a time and billing system, so that doesn't really apply. But so it'll ask you for just basic contact information. And then the next thing it's going to ask for is it's going to ask you for something. And I don't know how it phrases it, but essentially it's called a chart of accounts. So if you will, if you think of an old school in an old office, we used to have filing cabinets and you would have the different rows. At least I remember going down to different rows. There'd be different, 5 drawer filing cabinet or whatever, but and then each drawer was kind of organized. Okay. So chart of accounts would be the whole file system. So all the different drawers and everything contained within it. And then you have accounts. So you go from, you have and these accounts all pile up into your profit and loss statement, and that's the information that you really use to start making decisions for your firm. So when people ask me, the first piece that they get stuck on is what program, or like what tier do we sign up for. The second part is this chart of accounts. I will just tell you they have example accounts. Pick one, just pick one. Anything that says services, go ahead and pick that one. I want to say they used to be better about this. It used to be you could go in and you could search and say, I own a law practice. I own an accounting firm. I am a veterinarian, what practice, a dental practice. I manufacture something. You could actually pick better. They've kind of tried to narrow that down into what the choices are, but pick whatever one that's professional services, pick that, and it's going to give you probably a good 80% of the accounts that you're going to need. And all that's doing is getting you started. So it's nice to have a starting point. I know for me, if I'm looking at a blank piece of paper, my mind, I'm like, I don't know. I don't know where to go from here. And that's all that they're doing with this is they're just trying to say, hey, we think you're going to need these accounts. Let's just get these set up. And nothing is written in stone. So there's no bad answer here. Once you pick the chart of accounts that you're going to get started with, you then can edit. So meaning you can either go and edit the name. So if it says if there's a certain name and you don't like it, like for me, because I'm working with hundreds of law firms, I can't just have checking account because if I'm looking at checking account, I'm like, oh no, what client am I in and this and that. So I will rename the checking account because that's what QuickBooks is going to suggest. It's going to say your checking account, your operating account should just say checking account. I always rename it. It's going to be the name of your bank. And then I will put, if it's your operating account, I might put operating and then the last 4 digits. And then that way, that usually has me covered in all situations. When I get a bank statement in, I can somehow tie that back, the bank statement back to the right chart, the right account, right? So you can always rename the accounts that QuickBooks gives you. You can add accounts. You can make accounts inactive so that you don't see them anymore and you don't use them. So again, there's no bad answers here, but just pick something that says services. And the only reason I say that is there's some of the chart of accounts are for manufacturing or retail. So they're going to have cost of goods sold, inventory, shipping, and you're like, it'll be a lot of accounts you don't need. So just look for services. And then once you've made that selection of your chart of accounts that it's going to get you started with, it just puts you at the home screen and you're right there. And then you're going to be sitting there like, now I don't know what to do.
So let's talk about like I guess the two big categories of inputs is
Yeah.
the input, the money that's coming in,
Yep.
and the cost, the money that's gone out. So
Absolutely.
I guess let's talk about money coming in first and people wanting
Okay.
to get paid quickly. So I think that LawPay has some kind of quick invoice setup that doesn't
Yeah.
require a practice management system. So that's one
Yeah.
option. Practice
Yep.
management options are two and QuickBooks are three. Can you speak to the
Mhm.
different payment options and which one or what factors people should be thinking about in terms of which one they want to accept? And this is the most
Yeah.
important because this is what's going to get you the money without having to send a
Absolutely.
PayPal link and look
Yeah.
ridiculous, or
No,
Venmo.
absolutely. Yeah. So, well, I will tell you the problem with Venmo is that you have to have a personal account before you can open a business account. And
Yeah, I was
that's
joking. I
okay if
wasn't, I just want to make clear I was not recommending
yeah,
that. So I'm
it's
glad
like
you're,
I have people. No, I have people that use it. And I'm okay with that if you are the only owner of the firm. But when you start to have partners, then I kind of freak out about it because I'm like, yeah, you can't, your partners can't get into your Venmo account. Yeah, so to get people to get paid fast. So when I'm looking at how people are going to pay me, yeah, you can definitely invoice out of QuickBooks, and then QuickBooks will deposit the money into your account. They will want you to open an account through their bank. And I can't remember the name. I think it's called Green Dot Bank. It's out in California, and there's nothing wrong with the bank. But QuickBooks uses that because they want the money. I'm sure they get some type of an affiliate commission, or and then and the account does pay interest, but it's Intuit. I just try to not be too entangled with Intuit. So if you do invoice in QuickBooks, they will set up a way. It'll just ask you on the screen, "Hey, you're getting ready to send an invoice. Do you want to also accept payments through QuickBooks?" And you're like, "Oh, okay." You fill out a quick application, which is just a normal bank account, setting it up, your name, your legal name, your personal name as a firm owner, your social, date of birth, citizenship, driver's license number. So those couple things, and they will easily get you set up with one of their accounts. um, like I had said before, LawPay, I really really love LawPay. If you're not on Clio, I would recommend LawPay because you can just log into the LawPay website and say, "Hey, I have a client I need to invoice." And whether that's an invoice for earned fees, or you can say, "I need to collect a retainer." And so you tell LawPay and you just say, "These are my two bank accounts. I've got an operating account at Chase Bank, and I've got a trust account at Chase Bank." And you give it the two account numbers. And then when you go in, you log into the LawPay website and say, "I have client ABC. This is their email, this is their mailing address. I need to request a retainer payment of $1,000." And when you tell LawPay it's a retainer, it knows when that money comes in, it's going to put $1,000 into your IOLTA trust account. And then whatever fee that's going to be charged for that transaction is going to come out of your operating account. Um, so LawPay is good if you can get that set up. Clio Payments will do the same thing. So if you're already using Clio as your case management, Clio Payments works that same way, where it's going to ask, is that trust money or operating money? Um, if you are like, "Nope, not going to do LawPay, I'm not on Clio." Um, I mean, honestly, I have a couple clients who will use Square or Stripe, and there's nothing inherently wrong with that. It just becomes extremely stressful if you're trying to collect money for retainers, because the money's going to come in and they will only deposit to your operating account. And to me, it just really stresses me out because it's not compliant with any of the bars. So um, I just get very nervous when I see, "Oh yeah, money comes in." I've had clients that have told me, "Oh, it'll be fine." I don't normally take retainers with a credit card, but this one client needs to send me 10 grand, and they have an Amex and they just want to pay it, and I'll just do it for them. And I'm like, "Yeah, but now I'm stressed out because there's a paper trail. You can't undo it."
yeah.
And once it's
Now,
done, it's done.
right. I mean,
So
I guess you could do the work and then invoice that
yeah,
way after the
yep,
fact. I mean, which is
yeah,
probably only advisable in a very urgent situation. You
yes,
don't want to start
yeah.
advancing work to people.
Yeah, I definitely, I mean, yeah, I definitely, if you can get a retainer for your money, do it. Whether that's advance costs or your fees, both. Have the money sitting on retainer so that when you go to invoice, you invoice and do the transfer, and you've earned the money, and then you're not collecting. My heart breaks because I mean, I'm actually working on a project now where we're trying to go through and figure out old invoices. Is this really feasible that they're going to collect on it? And it's a lot of write-offs, and it just makes me really sad because I'm like, the firm did the work, and it's a bigger firm, they have staff, and so the firm's doing the work, they're doing the right thing, they're billing, but the clients are like, "I
Yeah.
have better things to do today." And I'm no
Right.
longer in pain. So,
Right.
I'm
So,
not in jail, and or
yeah,
whatever, whatever the situation
I
is, and
know.
I don't care anymore. And I'll pay it later, and then later, a year later, and you're like, "Hello," and there's no pressure point at that point. So, and trust me, I have so many issues around money. I mean, my very first invoice I issued, it was $100. And I
Oh
remember
gosh.
asking the person, I'm like, is it
Oh no.
okay? Is $100 okay? I've come a long time, I've come a long way since then.
No,
But
that's good.
so yeah.
So what about then on the other part is the money going out, the cost part, all
Yep.
these services that you're paying for and just everything if people are still using paper and stationery
Yep.
products and how do you account for that? Or what are some of your tips for accounting for that and keeping
Yep.
track of those types of itemized costs?
So this is where QuickBooks is amazing. So remember when I was talking about, they'll give you an example chart of accounts, and that chart of accounts is how you classify your different transactions. Um, it becomes this very living and breathing thing. So once you set it up, I mean, my chart of accounts looks nothing like it did. I mean, and my file's 20 years old. So um, I cringe when I think of some of my older accounts, how I've had those set up. But because here's what will happen. Um, ad spend's probably the biggest one that I do this for. Um, normal in the original setup, if you just accept what QuickBooks suggests, it'll have advertising expense. Now, me as a number junkie, I want to at least know how much am I spending on Facebook versus how much am I spending on Google ads
Uh,
and how much am I doing on print? And if you're in personal injury, do you have a billboard? Or maybe you do radio ads or TV, or I know there's a lawyer in my town. We have a monthly magazine, and he writes a news article every month, a blog, but yet it's in print, right? And I'm sure he pays for that. So I'm sure they don't pay him. I'm sure he pays because it's a
right.
full page and it's color and it's really nice and it has this picture. So instead of me, I don't want to see just advertising expense. I want to see all the breakout underneath that. Okay.
Right.
So that's where I would go into QuickBooks and say, so QuickBooks has this thing where by default your accounts are called so parent. So there's parents and children, okay? And it's just exactly what it sounds like. You've got the adults that are in charge and then the kids that need to be told what to do, right? And so in this situation, you'd have advertising expense would be your parent. There, that's the overall in charge of everything underneath it, and then you would put these child accounts, and it would be so child or subsidiary account. And so and all you're going to do is you'd go in and say, I need a new account for Google expense or Google ads, Facebook ads, billboard ads, and each of those would be different things. And how this evolves, it evolves over time. You're tracking your payments going out. You start looking at your account and you're like, oh, I just paid $50 to Google, and so that's where you're like, oh, but I don't see a Google expense account. Maybe I need to create one. And so that's where that chart of accounts just evolves over time. It's as needed. If I'm doing bookkeeping, either for myself or for one of my clients, I see a transaction, clear the bank, and or a client will message me and say, hey, I just wrote this check for blah, 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 whatever it was. New sponsorship. Ooh, golf outings, right? Because we all sponsor golf outings.
Right.
I'm sponsoring a hole, I'm sponsoring a table, whatever it is. Um, so when I get it, my first thing is I'm gonna at least look and see what accounts are already set up in QuickBooks. And if something's not exactly right, then that's where I go in and just add a new account. And I'll make it, I'm like, oh, this is advertising. We're sponsoring a golf outing. I'm going to make it advertising, but I don't see golf. So I'm going to add a sub account under advertisement expense and say golf outing sponsorship, something like that. Another reason why I do that, and I do that just for, I want to be able to look at a report and kind of get some information out of it. Because again, seeing that I spent 20 grand on advertising doesn't do much for me. But if I can start to see where I'm spending, and then I can line that up with a separate report of, oh, I've got these leads coming in, and this is where they're. So in my intake, I ask, who can I thank for sending you my direction? And there's selections you can pick from, and so I'm trying to match those up on my chart of accounts with my intake. It just gives you better information over time so that you can make better decisions. Because at some point, I'm going to say to you, hey, you're spending $1,000 a month on Google ads, and I'm looking through your intake, and not one of your new people, new potential clients are coming in from Google. I think we need to shut down Google. Now, I'm not a marketing person. But I would tell you, go talk to your marketing people if you have one. If you don't have one, I'll just tell you we're done. You're going to shut down Google. We're going to reallocate that money somewhere else. But over time, as you spend money, you'll start to say, these are the things that I want to have more detail on my profit and loss statement. So, and you'll start to get a feel for it. Because I have some clients who are like, I they just have it in their head. I really, really, really need to see these things. Other clients are like, I really don't care, whatever you want to do. I do have some clients who are part of other coaching programs. And I just did this. I have a client that, and the firm's been around probably more than 30 years. But they just joined a business coaching group. And part of that group, they have to report financial information. And so they had to start breaking down, and it definitely works more on the advertising. And so I'm like, we got to change your chart of accounts because we don't have enough information. And I would rather post everything I'd rather record everything in the right accounts as they happen, all in real time, all the time, because you've got to report this every quarter to your business group. I don't want to have to keep going back through all your transactions to like resort, filter, search. What was that vendor? What was their name again? And start adding things up. I'd rather just in real time as I'm doing the transactions, post them how I need to. Now, when we go to do the next quarter, I already have the chart of accounts set up to where I can just pull the right time frame and dump those numbers right into the report that they've got to send off to their business coach. So it evolves, it's breathing, it's living. Your chart of accounts will change all the time of how you're tracking what you're tracking.
So starting out, is it helpful for somebody to work with either somebody like you or a bookkeeper or CPA? I mean, even what is the difference between the role of a
Oh,
bookkeeper and a
absolutely.
CPA?
Yeah. So as a CPA, it follows very much along the lines of the legal track. So to be an attorney, so I had to have a bachelor degree. Right after I got grandfathered into a bachelor degree, right after I took the CPA exam, you had to have a master's. But you take an exam, it's a multi-day exam, and then you're licensed by the state. That's a CPA. CPA, certified public accountant, is regulated state by state, but you can practice in any area, in any region, locally, jurisdiction, physically, but just exactly how lawyers, because whoever's on this call, somebody might only do bankruptcy chapter 7, somebody else might only do divorces, somebody
Oh,
else may only do immigration. Okay. And I even know within immigration, it gets narrowed down, right? Into I only deal with this. CPAs are the same way. So I am not a tax person. I don't like taxes. I hate taxes. But I started my career in Big Four CPA firm, so comparable to Big Law. And I worked in Cleveland, in one of the Cleveland offices, and I started as an auditor. So I audited Rubbermaid and Nestle and L'Oreal, and it was going in and auditing is verifying that what somebody told me is true. So essentially, somebody hands me a report and they say, "Oh, we made $10 million this year," and I'm like, "Well, prove it to me." And so we'd have to go through the details to prove that's what they made. So I started there, went into banking, was CFO at a bank. And so that kind of just shifted my whole career into a different focus. When I started my firm, my accounting firm on my own, I actually did start doing taxes, but I cheated and I hired a CPA and said, you do the tax work. So she did the taxes, I did the bookkeeping. But CPAs can focus just how attorneys, bless you, just how attorneys have different focuses in different practice areas. CPAs are exactly the same. So some are tax focused, some are not tax focused, some are audit, some are accounting. Now, once it comes into do I need a bookkeeper or a CPA or somebody else? Well, you definitely want to make sure a lot of CPAs will not do bookkeeping. And in fact, I personally don't do the bookkeeping. I have bookkeepers that do for our clients. I will do it if I have to, but I don't like to be tied into the day-to-day numbers, like the nitty-gritty every single transaction, because my focus, I try to tell people as a CFO, I'm forward looking. So I'm kind of like your GPS. When you get all the kids packed in the car and you're like, let's go to Disney World, you type in the address. So for me, you tell me where you want to go, and I'm going to help you get the firm there. And so sometimes that's hard to look forward when you're in the detail, right? But bookkeepers, so I would definitely say it's well worth trying to find a bookkeeper, but I will tell you as a law firm owner, find somebody who has experience with law firms because the trust accounting is nothing like anything else in accounting. It seems like it should be, and I will tell you by God's grace, I had an amazing first law firm client, and because and I say that because he was coming from in-house counsel. He had been at a large regional firm, had gone in-house somewhere and left the in-house position and was starting his own firm. And so for me and him, and we actually ended up sharing office space together, and we learned it all together because he would say, hey, there's something about this trust account. And I knew from my working in banks, I'm like, oh yeah, an IOLTA account. I know all about it. Well, I only knew about the banking side. So, so he and I would just sit and just say, okay, well, let's research, like, how does it work here? And how I will just tell you that trust accounting is special, and it just takes one mistake, it's off, and it snowballs like nobody's business. I mean, literally an avalanche. You have one issue with your trust account, and before you know it, it's like this huge problem, and it takes a ton of work and effort to unwind and get it fixed. And I literally will have 3 to 4 trust accounting projects going on at any time. So it's just continual in my firm. We always have some type of a project we're doing. And it usually starts very, very innocently, very innocently. Somebody just posts a transaction too quick, not thinking about it. They post it wrong, messes up your trust account. And before you know it, somebody else sees it, follows the same. Well, if that was right, this has to be the right way. It just gets out of control. And so it's well worth, I know people will cringe and say, oh, I got a quote from a bookkeeper and they want $75 an hour, pay it. If they have experience with law firms, absolutely 100%. Like, because a bookkeeper who doesn't have experience with law firms, they don't know what they don't know. It's exactly the same what you would tell a client. As you tell a client, like, you go out to your girls night out, right? Or you hang out with the boys and somebody's like, oh, hey, I have a law question for you. And I know everybody on this call, I know you know exactly what I mean. So, and you're like, no, 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 I don't do my neighbor put a fence on my property. And you're like, I don't deal with property disputes. I deal with bankruptcy. So that's how it's that in the bookkeeping world too, where you just don't know what you don't know. So finding a bookkeeper who knows about trust accounting is just a huge, like, just, you don't want to get off on the wrong path. So because a lot of the cleanup projects I have are bookkeepers who just didn't know. They
Yeah.
literally just didn't know that they didn't know, and they were like, oh, it just seems like I'll be okay here. And it seems innocuous, and then before you know, it's not. So again, no ill will. I've never, like, thank God, like, knock on wood, although I don't have any in my reach, but I've not encountered a situation where it's something nefarious happened and it was completely on purpose. I've had things that I have seen have all been completely innocent mistakes, very good intentions, trying to get things done correctly. But it is well worth, and you will find bookkeepers that will help you just get started, just get off on the right foot, sit down, spend an hour where you can just say, okay, I know that this information comes from here. I need to do this in QuickBooks. I need to do this in my case management system. And this is what I do at the end of the month. Just learn how to do that and you'll be fine. You'll get to a point where I'm going to tell you, quit doing it yourself. Like, I completely get in the beginning, you don't want to pay for it because every penny coming into the firm and going out is precious. I completely appreciate that. So definitely know that learn from a bookkeeper who has law firm experience. get things going on the right path, but you'll hit a point where you're like, I don't have time for this. And then that's where you need to hire a bookkeeper.
Yeah, that makes sense. So just I wanted to ask, since a lot of our focus in this program is also talking about what AI can do and what it can't do, where do you see the role of AI with finances and accounting for law firms?
Yeah. So I love AI. I follow a lot of your stuff anyways. And I'm always going through like, oh yeah, well, I don't care about Westlaw
Yeah.
or Harvey or whatever, and whatever. But I do, from my standpoint, I mean, I'm excited about AI, and it, because it's the tool, and if you can teach it to do repeatable things, and I would say maybe 80% of bookkeeping is repeatable. So what you can do in QuickBooks right now. Now, I will tell you, I don't trust the QuickBooks AI because I think they used every single account that's out there and I mean, there's what, 23 million small businesses, right, in the US. And not that all of them are on QuickBooks, but even if half of them are on QuickBooks, not half of them are using bookkeepers who know what they're doing. So I think it trained it with bad information. So
Oh
garbage in, garbage
gosh.
out, right?
Wow.
But you're getting to the point now where you can start training. So QuickBooks, and I have not done this yet, and it's only because I haven't had an uninterrupted like 2 hours that I can sit and do this. But you can connect Claude to QuickBooks.
Oh,
And I have a couple bookkeeper friends who are like, this is good. Now, none of my friends have rolled this out to clients yet, but testing on their own QuickBooks file for their accounting firm. So I need a couple hours where I can just sit and connect Claude. And then you start teaching it and you say, hey, when deposits come in, if it comes from this source. So for my firm, I use Ignition, which is a case, not case management. It's comparable to case management, but it'd be my billing system. But it runs through Stripe. So if you see a deposit come in from Stripe, then this is where I need you to post it. So you can use Claude to start teaching it how to post transactions into your account. Where it's going to get stuck is if I write myself as firm owner, I could write myself probably three different checks because so my firm is set up as an S corp, which we're not going to get into
yeah.
way over there, which is fine. But I have to pay myself a W-2 paycheck. So I cannot say any payment paid to me goes into this account because my paycheck needs to go through wages and specifically officer wages, so that hits my tax return correctly. But I could also make myself a distribution, and so I don't have a way right now to be able to tell Claude or any AI to say if I'm the vendor post it to always to this account because it could be wages, it could be a distribution, or if I were out, or I just did this, I'm speaking somewhere in a couple weeks, and I published a book, so I'm like, oh, I'm going to take printed copies of my books and I'll pass them out. It's a small audience, but my Amazon account is connected to my personal checking or my personal credit card, and I was just too lazy to, I'm like, nope, I need the books printed. I just need to get them ordered. So,
Yeah.
but I will write a check from my company to my personal account to reimburse my personal account because it's a business expense. So there's really not a good way. So like AI can tackle probably 80% of your transactions just based on the vendor name because you're always, whenever you pay Westlaw, it's the same thing. Whenever you play, your malpractice insurance, as long as you renew with the same carrier, that's always going to be the same. It's always going to be malpractice insurance expense. So there's going to be certain relationships that would be very easy for AI to pick up and say, this vendor, do this. I mean, it comes back to, and I'm kind of old school with some technology, the if then, there was like that program where you could go,
Right.
if this, then that,
The
right?
conditional logic program.
Exactly. And that's how I see AI in the bookkeeping world. If you can teach it, if this, then that, and you start working on getting it trained on those things, it'll capture a lot of stuff. I mean, I'm excited. I'm excited and probably nervous at the same time because on one hand, I'm excited as someone who has been in my industry for so long. I don't care about that low transactional stuff. I just want it done as fast as possible. But where I get concerned, and I think probably from a lawyer's perspective, I see it because I see it in some online forums as well. The concern, I know how I learned to be an accountant. I didn't learn it sitting in college. I mean, yes, I have my bachelor's in accounting, but I just learned a couple debits and credits and certain theories on different things. Where I really learned was when I was in Big Four, and it was sitting on a job site. It was sitting at a client's office. It was, here's this report. Now go talk to some clerk, go talk to the AP clerk and find out what she does all day. And then I'd have to take my pen and paper and be like, okay, and then you do what? And then you go where? And how does that work? And that's how I learned. And I feel like in the legal industry, it's going to be the same, where you've got the people coming out of college that AI is going to start doing that easy stuff, but that's where we cut our teeth. And
Right.
that's how we learned our jobs. So I'm equally excited and kind of nervous at the same time. But I find, I'm just hoping that we're at a point where people are going to say, oh, okay, let's start changing our curriculum in school, in college, and let's kind of cut past some of that early stuff. Let's teach it faster because now you just need to know how it gets done. You don't have to go do it. But then let's hopefully that will propel advanced classes by time you do graduate. And then you'll have more, you'll have a better start when you start your career out of college, I hope.
Right, right. So I guess we're getting close to the end of the hour, but I just wanted to ask you just a final question before I open up the
Mhm.
floor. What are some of the biggest mistakes you see people making who are starting out that and ways to avoid that?
Not asking for help. I mean, honestly, there are no dumb questions. I've never had a dumb question. I would rather somebody email me. I am more than happy, and I think a lot of my counterparts are the same. I'd rather somebody just send me an email and say, "Hey, I need this." Now, I will tell you, sometimes I have to have the lawyer answer and say it depends because I need more information. But I would rather somebody reach out to me, and I will tell you very quick, that's not a 5 minute answer. If it's a 5 minute answer, I'm happy to not bill, to just, here's the answer, go run with it. But if it's going to be something that's more involved, I'll say, hey, we really do need to talk about it because I need more information from you, and we can get this going. But it just spending the time. And I know I struggled so much when I started my accounting firm. I had nobody. My parents, my dad's a retired fireman, my mom worked in retail. They were terrified that it's the most not proud moment my parents were when I said, I quit. They're like, what do you mean you quit? So, I mean, my parents just didn't, I mean, they were horrified that I started my own firm. And at that point, I knew nobody that owned a business. I didn't know anybody who owned any business. And it took me meeting other people who were like, oh, my husband owns a business, my wife owns a business. And then I had to start networking to start like, oh, how does that work? so, but I would rather talk to people and help you get started on the right path, but definitely ask the questions. When you're struggling, find somebody that you can talk to. It's another, if, and it doesn't have to be an accountant, it could be another law firm owner. Find somebody. And there's people out there who will help you for free. Because I know how much I struggled. I struggled with billing. Is my rate right? How often do I bill? How do I get paid? How do I get paid faster? When do I quit? When do I leave a client? Like, when do I let them go? I mean, I've struggled with all of that. And, oh, my client promised they'd pay me $2,000 by Friday, but I have to submit payroll for my staff on Wednesday. Like, how, like, so like, find the people that you can ask those questions, and just don't struggle with them. I mean, that's really the big thing, is try to
Yeah.
find somebody who can help you.
So does anybody have questions for Kelly now that we haven't covered? We've covered a lot of ground and, we're mostly focusing on start. So I don't see any more questions in the chat, but Kelly, can you tell people how they can get in touch with you and where to find you online?
Yeah, absolutely. So my website is profitscalethrive.com, and lots of resources. I've got quite a few free resources that are out there. And in fact, when I was talking about that child and parent accounts, or the sub accounts on their chart of accounts, I mean, I have a resource that you can download for free that talks about why it's a good idea, and then how to get those set up,
Oh,
and then
great.
an example. So an example of how to get those set up. But I have free resources on my website. I host a podcast, which Carolyn was a guest probably about 6 months ago. We
Yeah.
did it a while ago. But I have a podcast. It's called Your Profitable Law Firm, and I have some wonderful guests, and we talk about a lot of amazing things. The best places to find me online are my LinkedIn, Kelly Brubaker. Kelly's with an EY. And I'm pretty sure I'm the only Kelly Brubaker out there. I'm probably not. I actually haven't looked, but I'm pretty sure I'm the only one that's a CPA. And then YouTube would be so LinkedIn and YouTube are like the best places to find me.
So great. So you're getting amazing feedback, and I'm sure you are going to get people reaching out to you, especially
Yep.
once I post the recording. So thank you so much, Kelly. Thank you, everybody, for being here. And I'm going to stop the record. So let me just stop that.